is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
We are exactly 24 hours away from a trade deadline day, and we've seen some big names disappear from the board, but they keep coming. The hits just keep on coming. Tyler Bertuzzi this morning from Detroit to the Boston Bruins. We're going to get into that and so much more. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, Dave Sisboom, Sammy McKee. The next 2 hours, we're glad you're aboard wherever you're watching, listening, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now, Sportsnet 590, The Fan. You are here, and we are glad that's the case. Leafs, Oilers. Can't think of a more anticipated game. And I'll bring you in, Sammy, first, and then we'll get to JB. But in the last few years, the hype over this one, the major trades, the work, the build-up, and then for Leaf Nation, Sheldon said it best. Disappointed.
That stunk. Bad. That was not enjoyable for 1 second. From the drop of the puck until the end of the game, it was very obvious who was going to win that game. And the team that did win was the team. And they were very good, and the Leafs were very bad, and it hurt. I was very excited about that game. I was juiced up, ready to rock, as I talked about yesterday on the show. And I don't know, the Springsteen flu, they had a couple too many cocktails. I don't know, they were chugging too many Starbucks, so they're in Seattle. I don't know what the hell happened, but they laid an absolute egg, fellas.
JB, is there a chance Sammy and Leaf Nation will make too much out of this?
Yeah, for sure there is. There's an absolute chance. But, you gotta start at the first checkpoint, which that was a thorough, comprehensive ass-kicking from the Edmonton Oilers, who looked fantastic in all facets of the game. I couldn't believe how much it felt like McDavid and Draisaitl were on the ice. It felt like they played 40 minutes last night. Their best guys were unbelievable. And the Leafs, I don't even you can say it on the air, but hockey coaches say it all the time. They didn't piss a drop. There was nothing. No moment of life, no pushback, nothing.
When you look at the scoring, though, Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, I think they ended up with a point each, but really one guy just ran you over, and that was Connor McDavid. And we know where the eyeballs are and the TV crews. I get it. Sportsnet wants to sell this thing big time. They want to match up McDavid versus Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw last night one guy who took on that challenge, who lived up to that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one guy look across at another guy and say, that MVP award that should have been mine last year, I'm going to jam it down your throat tonight.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest look I got last night, is that Austin didn't answer the bell against McDavid on a big stage last night.
Yeah. Now, McDavid is feeding everyone their lunch. He has 5 straight games with 2 goals, which Ken Reed had a great line last night on Sportsnet Central, which was like, if the only person you're behind in a stat category is named Punch, you're doing pretty good. It's an old record at that point. I think it's 1920 Punch Broadbent, I think, had 6 2-goal games in a row. So
played on a line with Newsies alone.
That's it. So, yeah, McDavid's doing the thing. But you're right. I mean, there was nothing there. The Leafs generated, in 60 minutes of hockey last night, 1 high-danger chance. Their high-danger chances from the last 5 games are 21, 18, 18, 12, 10, and 1.
Well, it's not good.
They had 10 high danger against the Kraken. Was that
correct?
The game?
Yeah. And actually, I actually skipped one there. Sorry. Against the Wild, they only had 5. So those 2 are their lowest totals of the year. Within 5 and then 1. 5 is their second lowest. 1 last night.
1 feels high.
1.
One
They've
feels
had games in the 20s.
I'm just trying to think of the goals that they did score, where they came off of. I guess,
Marner shot it in on the flank through a screen.
Yeah, and then the other one was everyone thought it was offside, and Kampf.
Yeah. I guess that's the one that's in the
Yeah.
slot.
Yeah, that was it.
All right. We know we're going to get some meat off of Sheldon's clips
Oh, boy.
today,
Yeah.
because that one, he felt that one.
But I want to hear more. I want to hear from you before Sheldon.
Okay.
Do you think that you asked me if I think it's at the risk of making too big a deal out of it?
Yeah.
Do you take anything from last night? First game with new guys?
I'm okay with it
All
in
losses
terms
suck.
of new faces coming in,
Yeah.
the room's spinning a little bit. I can buy that a little bit. I'm not ready to sell out their whole season based on what I saw last night.
Yeah.
And we know they're better. And they do have a reputation of not letting bad losses linger too long.
Mm-hmm.
They turn them into 2 and 3, 4-game winning streaks pretty quick here. But I just think they were missing an emotional element last night. They didn't have to be crisp. They didn't have to look clean.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an emotional element that is concerning. And I am with Sheldon in terms of not the new guys here, just the old guys, the guys that I'm supposed to count on right now. And I don't know how long I want to keep waiting on watching Matthews become the guy that I know, and to a same extent, Morgan Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are two of my most important guys.
Yeah.
One's up front, one's on the blue line. And I didn't get much emotion out of them last night. To me, that's a concern. You're 20 games in, or 20 games, last 20 games here. We got to start seeing something more out of these guys on longer stretches to get ready for game one, and that's going to be Sheldon's challenge. Now, there's other elements of the game last night I'm also concerned about, but the loss. Not so much losing to Edmonton, but the emotional attachment that I thought should have been there is not. And Sheldon should address it today for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you in that I'm not going to make a huge deal out of it. Sometimes you have bad nights. That happens. Doesn't go your way. You don't feel good, whatever it is. It happens. But I'm with you. I think you really hit the nail on the head with Matthews, nothing. Riley is a concern for me now.
Yeah.
Where it almost feels like you need to protect him a little bit or shelter him in some way. Sometimes when a star player gets hurt, the rest of the team picks it up and then you get a great performance from your guys.
Yeah.
This felt like the star players being like, oh, I'm excited to watch these new players play. Like everyone's going to sit back and watch, Jake McCabe do his thing and Sam Lafferty play rather than play. They didn't play last night.
All right, let's go to Sheldon. We'll just start with the main reason why they weren't in the game from the get-go. Let's listen to Sheldon Keith.
We played it. We just didn't play with any purpose or intelligence.
That's better than soft and purposeless the year before.
It's the same thing.
It's close.
It's
right?
soft. That's soft and purposeless.
Well, no purpose is the same. Intelligence is very different from calling your team soft.
Yeah, I guess you're probably right about that. But it's very similar.
Yeah, in terms of very displeased from the coach.
That's as disappointing as it gets for a guy that has watched, a quarter of his team out, new guys in that are supposed to drag other people into the fight. And I'm certainly not pinning anything on Lafferty and,
McCabe.
Noel Achari or even McCabe.
Yeah.
Right. But where is that we're all in this together now feel last night? That was missing.
Yeah. And, you could see those guys trying to do something. McCabe had the accidental cross-check to Nurse's head just about, and Lafferty, there were moments where they showed a little bit of fire and engagement, but I am a little worried about all the different things we want to see happen with this group, whether it's different D pairs, different line combinations, power play units. Like there's a lot to get sorted out, and it feels pretty I don't know. It feels pretty scrambled right now, trying to get it sorted. Like Lafferty last night, Sammy and I were talking, liked his energy, had the puck on a couple 2-on-1s, but made a couple of plays that you make on losing teams. Turns the puck over while he's going for a change. Not a very good effort on the dump, and it goes back the other way and they score. Not a big deal.
Which one was that? The fourth one?
Yeah, I think it was the fourth one. He doesn't get it deep at the red right before he steps off the ice, and it's no big deal. Happens 10 times, you're probably fine, but you just don't do it. So there's some concerns for me just about them. Do they have time to find what it's going to be, this cohesive unit?
I will say that Lafferty, you immediately don't miss Engvall because of Lafferty.
Yeah.
He's got that same pace. He's got that.
He's hard to miss.
He is.
On his
pace
shifts.
and PK, and you see him, and he'll at least get at you.
And he goes in the northern direction as opposed to turning south.
People hate the Engvall turnaround.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I think Lafferty.
The turn up.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to miss his turn up.
The neutral zone. I'm going to bring this back to our end.
Go
forward.
The turnup. I never like eating turnips, and I don't like turnips in hockey.
Turn up, Engvall.
Should we have a weigh in on Jake McCabe's first night before we get more into clips?
Yeah.
You know what? I want to stick with just the overall feel of the game, and then we'll start breaking down a few guys, okay?
I'm in.
All right, let's go to Keith on just the overview of the game.
Yeah, it's tough to get to me, our opponent tonight was very focused and very committed to play together to win the game. I thought our guys, we started fine, but just the way we started the penalty kill against the number one power play in the history of the NHL, and get our first exit and give it right back to them. We're not serious about winning when that's the case, and it has nothing to do. Those are our regular penalty killers. Those are our top people. That's how we started the game, and didn't get much better from there.
Keith's a little dramatic sometimes.
Did he call out Marner?
Him and Kampf, I think. He called them out for not just getting the puck down the ice. Calling it not just the best power play, but the best power play in the history of the NHL was dramatic for me. But yeah, the play, we watched it.
It actually is.
I know. But Marner has the puck on sort of a 2-on-3 and tries to make a play, which he makes 9 times out of 10, turns it over, they go back and score in a rush.
Yeah, that's... See, Sheldon needs to pick his battles better there. He does not need to call out Marner on that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that at all. This guy, you know what he's all about on the penalty kill. You love him on the penalty kill. You can argue that he's the best penalty killer. Brad Marchand's is the best penalty killer in my opinion in the league. Him and Marner are unbelievable here, and it's not even a turnover. I know it's a turnover to go back and score, but you mentioned it. It's a 1-on-2, right? So he's got a defender and he's got a back checker. You've turned it over 10 feet inside their blue line, which means that if I'm watching two Oilers on one Marner, you're still 3-on-3 back there. Mm-hmm. It's not the turnover that killed you. It's the 3-on-3 that hurt you.
Yeah, and but I get the idea, though, that Keith is saying, that's a tone setter for them in terms of doing the right things and playing a good game. I agree that the turnover is not egregious by any means.
Oh, my gosh.
Camp's there with them. But I get the idea that we're trying to set the tone.
Yeah, and you can talk about the goaltender, slide into the corner to try to make a save off the goal line.
Yeah, didn't bail them out.
And the other thing with Sheldon is he wants to blanket everybody. It's like, okay, you got 20 games to get ready for the first round here. It's okay if you use names.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marner's a goal and an assist last night. He was the best out of all of them.
Not even close.
Okay?
By far the best.
By far. Yeah. Like he is most nights.
Well, yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. Yeah. But the other guys are really...
Not everything's a Marner referendum.
Yeah. Tavares.
No good.
Ryan O'Reilly and Willie were dogs last night.
Yes.
Okay? They got smoked.
Yeah.
They got smoked.
The Matthews Marner Bunting line was on for the bulk of the chance against. That line was on for absolutely nothing created. Like
you want to call out Marner on that turnover on a tone? Go watch 3-1 to 4-1 Hyman's goal.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch it one more time and watch where Willie Nylander is when Hyman ends up with the puck. His feet are gone. He's cheating again, and he's left it completely open for Hyman. No mention of that, right? No mention of that. It's 3-1.
I think you're upset about the wrong thing here. Like
4-1 is over. 3-1, you're in the game. 4-1, you want to cheat out of the zone?
Right.
It's over.
I just don't understand. Like when can you call guys out, your best guys, for making plays that aren't helping the team? We were saying their top six wasn't good enough. He found that a tone-setting moment from the guy who's been their best Leaf this year, the MVP of their team. At some point, you got to say we need more from everyone. You got to have a thicker skin if you can't take a comment from the coach.
And is he still scarred from the beginning of the year? Where he had
you tell me.
He had to come back and, apologize, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. He certainly changed his tone for a while, didn't he? Like in terms of calling out these guys, we didn't hear him really weigh in on the top guys too much, other than to overpraise at times. Typically,
they've been really good
that
for
helps.
a lot of the year. There's not a lot of reasons, but last night was a night to call out all your top guys. I think you could have done a sort of a blanket statement here. Like, you can't be like, oh, and the top guys and not Marner, but like you could definitely call out the top guys to the effort last night, because it just felt like there was a lot of puck watching. There was one play in the defensive zone where the puck was on the boards, and I think it was O'Reilly, I think it was Giordano, and I forget who the other guy was. And they all just kind of like had the moment where they looked at each other and they're like, are you going or am I going to go? And they just kind of were like stuck in mud. They looked hungover. I don't know. The puck watching last night was unbelievable.
I see people on Twitter being, Leafs fans talking about this team in the moments you're supposed to be excited. Every time you get fired up, like we talked yesterday, they've had 8 games to eliminate an opponent and they haven't got it done. And in those moments, not being able to be the better team. Last night felt like one of those games, but my only
I don't agree with that.
I don't either. Cause you think of game 1 against Tampa Bay, they come out and win 5-0. Pretty big moment there, I would argue.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's true that the top guys don't show up all the time in big moments, but I don't know. Do you think it's a trend with the top guys?
You tell me they find a way to have 2 or 3 nights like that and they lose in the first round in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lining them up for character flaws.
Yeah.
For sure. Talented guys, but just don't bring it when they need to. And this has been an ongoing thing with those guys. And talented, arguably some of the most talented players in history for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The numbers, the records, the blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Just, can you win when you're supposed to win?
Yeah.
And that, it's going to come down to it. And it won't matter. Last night was a perfect example of what will happen if they don't get out of the first round. You ain't going back there and saying, well, that Lafferty should have been given we need a little bit more from Lafferty and Achari, come on, Achari. Where was Achari?
You're right.
No, they're going to go back and they're going to go Matthews, Willie, Marner, and Tavares, and Riley.
Yeah.
Those are the 5 guys that will get hammered.
Yeah.
And last night should have been a little bit warm up. Like, Sheldon should have gone back to them and gone, guys, if you're feeling it today about last night, wait in the first round.
Oh, yeah. That's a reminder to you what it's going to be like in terms of media, coach talking about you.
It's an awesome point. Like, it's a warm up.
It is.
It's a warm up.
You know what scares me, though, is it reminds me of a point that I've made several times, is that can you tape grit and character to the core if the guys who play 21 minutes a night don't have it?
Well, right.
Then that is the most horrifying sentence spoke today.
Well,
because it's true.
You
can, and listen, say what you will about Dubas and say what you will about the bottom half of the lineup and how he's had a lot of different versions of the bottom half of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, there's been a few holdovers here and there, but he has mixed and matched the bottom 6 to go along with his core, and none of it has worked to get past the first round, right? So there's something there. Anyways.
Yeah. Matthews will always be tagged, I believe, as the second best talented player in the world
Yeah.
behind Connor.
If he's lucky, he'll be
think?
called that.
No.
Right now?
Name me a player more talented than Austin Matthews besides Connor McDavid. Pure talent.
It's a tough one.
Sorry?
That's a tough one. I'm just thinking, like, there's
I'm
guys.
telling you, it's fine.
I mean,
He's there.
I'd put McKinnon there.
We can talk about different players and saying, okay, 1A,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you get my point.
He's in that.
He's in the top 5. For
He's in
sure.
the handful.
Yeah.
He's there.
Mhm.
But what is constantly missing with this guy? It's
Yeah.
just a little bit of edge. Can he get pissed off? Can he get upset? Can we just see some emotion out of him
Yeah.
besides this amazing talent?
Yep. It's a great point. It's a great point that is coming, as the sample size gets large enough. You see games where Connor is, they lose to Boston the other night, and you see him in his interview after the game, and he's ready to jump off a bridge. And games where he says, I'm willing this team over the line.
Just scored my 50th goal. I don't care.
I do not care.
don't care.
And not that I'm saying Matthews cares about that stuff. He doesn't. Few people have Connor's obsession with winning in the same way that Crosby had an obsession with winning. I don't even mean it as a criticism that he is not weirdly obsessed with it the way that some people are. But he is different, it feels like, in terms of the
And the problem is
passion in those.
if you don't have any edge, if you rarely get pissed off, then you start getting accused of being disengaged,
Yeah.
which is, it's felt that way on more than a couple of nights this season for Austin,
Oh, yeah.
that he does look like he's disengaged. The talent is there. Hey, score a goal, shoot a 40-foot wrist shot. Yeah, we can still see it. But, there are moments where if it's Konechny earlier this year or Ben Sherratt, little ragdolling him in the first round of the playoffs, it's not a normal response just to kind of let it roll off your back.
I wonder if this has not been surprising for Matthews, a guy who everything has come to him eventually, right? Like he has excelled. He went over to Switzerland. He's won everything, or individual awards along the way. He's the first overall pick. It comes easy to him. And then you get to the NHL and all these guys most of them have been superstars and whatever. And it takes another level of determination and commitment. Even Connor McDavid hasn't been handed Stanley Cups. And I'm wondering now if some of this stuff is not eye-opening, that, man, you really got to dig in, even the best in the world.
We see edge and the ability to be pissed off out of McDavid, Nathan McKinnon. Come on.
Weirdly obsessed with winning.
And
Broke his hand in a fight last year.
pissed off and edge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kucherov. Kucherov.
Crosby,
Marchand.
Yeah, I don't know. Kucherov's not one for me.
What do you mean?
Marchand.
In terms of being nasty and
Nasty.
obsessed with
No,
winning?
no, he's not obsessed with it. His body
Okay.
language, some days
All right.
he's like, hey.
I mean, it's the one thing that's missing out of Austin's game.
You're right. I mean, I can't sit here and disagree with you.
And I'm
I wish I
also
could
not
because
saying that that's why they lost last night alone. But we've had enough.
No, this is big picture stuff
It
here.
is.
you'd think in a game where, like you said, Kyper, you're going up against a guy that is perceived. You're the first overall picks. It's this matchup. It's this head-to-head, big Canadian, matchup between these two fan bases. Tons of vitriol between them, and you go down 5-2 or something. Like Crosby or somebody might cross-check somebody in the face, not in the face, but like get him in the back, or like there might be a slash, or they might be mean, or get in a scrum.
That game felt over when it was over. It was
and
3-1, 4-1. It was.
Me and Jay were just sitting on the couch last night, and I said when they were down 5-1, I was like, could somebody just do something stupid? Like, could somebody go out there and just,
entertain me.
Just
Yeah.
seem like you're pissed off?
Yeah.
And I thought these new guys were kind of like gritty guys that are like in your face and mad. It just seemed like they didn't really care that they were getting hosed last night.
I think
And
there's
that's
some
what hurt.
figuring out going on here still.
Yep.
You know, game one with those guys.
Okay. What do they call that thing? DEFCON.
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 Yeah.
1 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Did the number change before the game for Samsonov and the Leafs goaltending situation? Does it go up when it's more dangerous?
DEFCON 5 is the lowest threat. DEFCON 1 is like.
Okay. Where are we on the DEFCON chart of Samsonov being your goalie?
So is DEFCON, is it just like all of it's bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Five's not as bad.
No,
One is-
five's a country club. We're going to the beach.
Listen.
One, we're looking for a bomb shelter.
I thought he was really good after he let in 4.
He was actually. He made a lot of saves, which speaks worse to the Leafs than anything, is that they kept giving
I
up
thought
chances.
he really cleaned it up after he let in 4, but
Okay.
listen, we've been talking about this all, like, I don't know how many
but
times we
last
can
night
say
was
it.
very concerning for
I
me.
agree, Kipper.
He couldn't find his net if he had a searchlight.
There's two
boy.
there's two versions of
This
Samson.
show today, and I don't disagree. I agree again.
There's two versions of him. The one where like you can tell very early on with him, I feel like, with the eye test. If he's solid, not moving around a whole lot, he's kind of just like, he's quiet. You're not seeing a lot of movement. But when he's off, he gets flying side to side, and it's like he seems like he loses the net and loses the puck, and it's like, that's the one I don't like seeing. That's the scary one for me. So I don't know. I'm not the same DEFCON I was yesterday. Last night didn't change anything for me. I've been worried about this since the start of the year.
Yeah. I don't, because there's no available solution, I tend not to overthink those ones and just cross my fingers.
I thought there was a solution in Jonathan Quick before Vegas picked him up hours ago.
Over Samsonov?
No, not over Samsonov, just to reinforce
Yeah.
the whole thing.
You'd rather have Quick than Murray is what you're saying.
Listen,
Pull that.
I
People would
think-
rather have Quick or Murray.
I think, in all honesty, I think that if you were able to kind of massage your roster a little bit, get Columbus to pick 50% up, get somebody else to pick up 25, I think there could have been a scenario where you just brought in Quick in and you could have kept Matt Murray and you could have kept Samsonov and do the 3-goalie thing like you did with Riddick.
Yeah, Quick
And
was
I
already
hated that.
50%. So
I've gone on record saying I hate that, but under the scenario of everything that we've seen Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan do, that you've gone this far
yeah.
to now do nothing for your goaltending situation and to leave it as is and leave it that exposed when you've gone this far,
Yeah.
to me is asinine.
Yeah. I
Quick has been very bad this year.
Yeah, he has.
What's that?
Quick has been very bad.
He has, but he's definitely the type of crazy, vengeful, arrogant guy that you would love to have in the playoffs.
And he's a Stanley Cup champion.
He's also
Yeah,
an
Matt Murray
he's
is
also
too,
an
but I know your point.
He's also an 878.
Yeah.
He's just
In
another
31
veteran.
I just can't imagine a scenario.
to the Jonathan Quick.
I want to be so wrong about the Leafs goalie situation. I want Matt Murray to be healthy and to all of a sudden go on this great run and show this prowess and whatever. I just don't want to be right about the goalie situation, and I would feel much better if it wasn't. Let me tell you my fear. If it wasn't Murray and Wool behind him, my fear is tonight they play the Flames. The Flames have the biggest difference between real goals and expected goals. As in, their expected goals is very high, but they don't finish. They can't finish a lick. This team, they barely pass the puck. All the shots are straight
And
on.
tonight, the expected ones become real.
Well, no, my fear is that tonight Joe Wool goes in.
Yeah.
The real ones stay down. He looks great because they can't finish a lick. And they go, Joe Wool's good enough. We're good with Wool. We're fine. They reach their conclusion tonight. Wool plays well tonight. And they go, we don't need someone.
Or he gets lit up.
Well, at least you have some time to do something at that point. That's best case scenario is he
Tick,
gives up a dozen.
tick,
Yeah, well,
tick.
you can still defuse the bomb while it's ticking.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know what's out there now. And that was like the best of a bad situation with Jonathan Quick. And I'm not suggesting that he would have come in here and taken Samsonov. You can still groom Samsonov. And you could actually just leave Matt Murray in. And at least if Matt Murray disappears again, you got I'd rather go to Jonathan Quick than Wall.
Oh, yeah, no, I would too.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
But that's what we're talking about. My fear is that Matt Murray.
When you put it that way.
Yeah. Matt Murray. Do we have comments from Keith on Murray?
We do have
let's-
a little.
Well, let's go
comment
to Keith on leaving Samsonov in first, and then we'll bounce it to Matt Murray.
No, he needs to stay in there. It's going to be Joe Wall's game tomorrow, so it's this is a type of game against this type of opponent that he needs to stay in there for.
All right,
I
so
agree. Might as well hang him out there and say, hey, figure it out. He kind of figured it out. He got better as the night went
I
on.
know, but imagine that type of game out of Samsonov to go down 3-2 in the series. You want to go back to him, or you ready to say next man up?
It depends if Murray's available or not. This is what kills me with Murray. Okay, now let's play the Murray clip on his update. Oh, no, we're not going to play the Murray clip just yet. But what kills me about, okay, now we're ready for the Murray clip. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think he's close. Tomorrow's going to be a scheduled day off for him, but he's been doing really well. I think he'll skate again on Friday and just continue to progress from there, but everything's been positive.
First off, why do they schedule a day off for him the day before trade deadline? But what kills me is he hasn't played since January 17th from a non-incident. He just tweaked an ankle in warm-up, and he hasn't played in 6 weeks.
We're talking about practice.
We're talking about not even. Warm-up is less taxing.
And here's the other thing I discovered here is that, like, Samsonov's issue right now is he's playing too much.
Think so?
I think if you go back, the best case scenario where it was trending and moving was at best case scenario between Murray and Samsonov when Murray was healthy was 2-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 starts for every one for the other guy. You can't count on Samsonov to go long stretches here. He needs rest. He needs practices. He needs a mental break. This is why I'm scared to just leave it in the hands of a Matt Murray.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting if you look at his elite prospects page or hockey DB or whatever. Every time he plays like 20 to 30 games in the season, he has high numbers, and every time he's over sort of 35 to 40 and numbers get up there, his season stats aren't good. I don't know if high volume of workload just doesn't work for him or if that's a coincidence, which is very possible. But yeah, he wasn't great last year and playing 44 times using 896. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe workload does play into it for him. In which case,
if
biting my
Kyle
fingernail sound.
isn't looking at goaltending options out there, he is not doing his job.
Hard agree.
Okay?
Hard agree.
Hard agree.
But we are in the minority. Elliot last night
We've been talking about this
I
since
know.
like October, boys.
Elliot on TV last night said the Leafs aren't pursuing a goalie. So
Yeah,
here's what I think.
That's a mistake.
I think they see.
And listen, with all due respect to Elliot, I don't believe it.
Yeah. I think they see Murray as a deadline addition. That's what they're saying. They're saying to themselves, we're getting Murray back. It's as good as, we'd bet on him. If he was on another team and we were looking for a goalie, we'd bet on Murray as much as the next guy. So why not just bet on Murray?
I would agree with you if Kyle had been on the planet Pluto the last 2 years, because that is not trading for somebody who finds a way to disappear on you.
Yeah, no, it's a concern.
Okay.
Want to talk about McCabe?
I know third period.
Yes.
What's
Jake
that?
McCabe.
Jake McCabe, you want to talk about him?
No, not yet.
Okay.
One more for me.
Oh, we're running out of time here.
Okay.
We need a 3-hour show today.
I'll be quick here. But the third period, I know Kyle alluded to it being kind of like garbage time, or it just didn't really matter to him. But we did see a scenario where it was 1-2-3 in the center ice position.
Yeah, we did.
With Ryan O'Reilly, Tavares, and Matthews.
Riley played with Lafferty and Kerfoot.
Yeah.
They were excellent.
They were awesome.
Yeah. And like that shouldn't just be a throwaway here. I wholeheartedly agree with you guys that to me that could shape up.
Love the idea of always having a star on the ice, or at least an elite brain if you don't think O'Reilly's a star.
Yeah, no, and it just, you may say it's a small sample size that he's going off of, but he's never seen any of these guys ever play together. So it's like you see, 3 good shifts those guys had together? It's like, that's enough to go again tonight. Like, I'm going to be surprised if we go into the game tonight here and it's not those 3 guys down the middle again.
I agree.
One more before McCabe. And that is the one thing that's still out there, guys. The left side. And watching Michael Bunting, disappointed in Michael Bunting last night.
Mm-hmm.
Did not notice him. He didn't piss anybody off either. He wasn't in anyone's face. We didn't get that Bunting look last night.
Yeah. I agree.
He got elbowed in the mouth by Draisaitl and like went up to him and kind of like grabbed onto his jersey a little bit. And then Draisaitl kind of like looked at him, just skated away. I was like, oof, that's a tough look for Bunting.
Yeah.
Here we go. 2 key ads last night in both hockey games. Ekholm for Oilers and McCabe on the blue line. JB, where do you want to start?
I want to start with McCabe because I think we owe it to Leafs fans. I thought he looked really nervous. I two thoughts. I thought he looked like a player that is a good player, skates well, nice size. Like I like a lot about he looks like someone who's a player to me. I thought he played poorly last night. A few times just the Leafs are really crisp, aren't they? Like talented guys. They get the puck up, they go. I thought a little slow with decision making, and a lot of pucks started coming back his way. I just thought, first game, I understand that he would be nervous. It's a big spot, a lot of attention. I didn't think he was great last night. You, Kip?
I don't know yet, and we're going to have to see in the next couple of weeks if he's a legit 3-4. He could be a very good 5-6 on a deep team.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't like his penalty.
Yeah, do you think it was
didn't like his penalty?
I don't like
at all.
stick break penalties.
Well, I didn't like that he didn't move his feet from the top of the circle to the slash.
That's fair. Yeah,
and I think if he moves his feet, there's not a real sense to slash there because you're almost shoulder to shoulder with a guy, and it's more of a push or a shove than it is a slash.
Yeah.
So I think that as we progress, hopefully he locks it in with somebody here, and we still don't know where ultimately his best fit is on a pair.
Yeah.
But
I thought he got better.
It's there's no early presence of McCabe like there would have been if the Leafs ended up with Ekholm or Orlov.
Yeah.
Even Chikrin, we'll see him tonight against playing at Ottawa with the Rangers. And ultimately, I don't know where his best fit is. I don't, he's almost 30 years old. I don't like that you say he was nervous. Like
he hasn't played in any games,
I
or
know. I know. So now you're gonna put him in a game
and
1.
that is my assessment.
I know,
by the way, it may not be true.
Is he going to be nervous in game 1 and game 2 because he's never experienced playoff games before, and there's going to be a big ask from him?
Maybe he just trying to impress the new guys on the team and settle in, one of those type of nervousness.
Yeah, early for me.
Yeah.
No, let's see how he settles in the next 2 weeks.
Maybe it's just a product of who like the Leafs have been playing on the back end or whatever in terms of this year and the guys have mixed in and out. And I thought he just looked like a capable NHL defenseman. Like you said, I thought he was trying to do way too much. Like he looked really horned up to try to hit somebody or score a goal or make an impact to kind of prove himself to his new team, which is a completely natural thing. Like it'd be hard to convince a guy to not do that in a hockey game with his first meaningful hockey game in maybe his life and hockey in the NHL. Yeah. So I think there's something there. Thought he looked a little bit smaller than I was expecting him to look. And then I watched Ekholm, and I was talking about Ekholm on the Leafs for 2 years, and he looks
couple
big
more
and good.
Points on the blue line. I think I got to give a shout out to Justin Hall. It's like Justin pissed me off last night because why haven't we seen
I had other people with that
edge?
reaction.
Why? Where have you been? If you can knock Connor McDavid on his ass and then go run over Yamamoto.
And there's a third
and then
one, too.
Stand up. Everybody's like, Nugent Hopkins fed him his lunch. Are you kidding me? I don't care about that. The guy was there.
Willing.
He's engaged. He saw him coming. He was ready for him. Like, give that guy the belt or the hat or something after the game. He showed more cojones than anyone else in the lineup last night.
Yeah, you know what?
He
It was almost
smoked Yamamoto.
He did.
That's the hardest hit on the Leafs this year by far.
And maybe it was McLeod he drilled too against the end wall. But my first thought was like, that's the most I've seen him play with a burr under his saddle ever. Like, and I've been watching him since the Marlies
because
days.
there's 8 or 9 guys that are in there in the lineup now, and you're scared about losing your job.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
So you were so comfortable before, and now you're not. That's
Maybe,
what
yeah.
it took.
I think so.
Yeah, I
do.
agree. And
Yeah.
and that would play into the years that he's been here, is when he's played his best, is when he's come back from being a healthy scratch or been kind of, talked about in the media and that he hasn't been doing very well. And like, he seems to play off this kind of motivation well. And you're right, that was a awesome game physically for him.
Now, I don't think he smokes weed or does edibles, but his demeanor is of someone he's just like a really chill bro.
Yeah.
He's really chill, you know? And so I don't know, it doesn't come easy for him, I think, to play like last night. I think that's a conscious, like.
So for sure I'm not on anything then.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, or you're on uppers. I don't know.
We'll figure it out because we're going to take a break right now. Eric Francis, senior columnist, analyst with Sportsnet. He's going to join us after the break, and we're going to tee up the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. What's going on there? Buyers, sellers? Is there still time to even decide? We'll ask Eric after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Toronto Maple Leafs getting ready 24 hours later to come back and redeem themselves off of a disappointing loss to the Edmonton Oilers, which means we're going back to the well in Calgary with Eric Francis, senior columnist, analyst with Sportsnet. Thanks for doing this, Eric. How's everything in Flameland? How's our buddy Daryl doing these days?
Oh, he's always chipper. Not really. He's, I know the sky fell in Toronto last night, and for 24 hours, everyone's doing navel gazing, but I think you guys are going to be just fine. I'm not sure I could say the same thing about the Calgary Flames. It certainly is an uphill climb for them to get back into this into a playoff spot. They're losing ground almost nightly, and it's pretty disheartening for this team when they outshoot everybody. Pretty much, they play 2-1, and they just can't get it done. Their best isn't good enough anymore, and it's all because their goaltenders are really struggling. So I don't know. Did you catch that game the other night by chance?
Yes.
They outshot Boston 57-20, and that was a case of, hey, Linus Ullmark, demonstrating why he's clearly the Vezina Trophy winner this year. But, that's been happening nightly to the Calgary Flames this year. Usually the other goalie is someone who you've never heard of, and usually the chances aren't quite as good as the ones the Flames had. But they had over 90 shot attempts on goal. That's pretty unbelievable that you can't win a game like that.
Well, and that's what I've been trying to make sense of with this Flames teams. You watch them, they look pretty good. You look at their roster, it's pretty good. And then they keep making, a bunch of no-name goaltenders look like Hall of Famers. Why can't they finish, Eric? Is it, that's not a coaching thing, really? Is it just, here's my theory. They don't pass the puck a ton. It's a lot of straight-on shots. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, God, in terms of breaking down, I would just, big picture, I'd say that too many of their shots are periphery shots. Jay Woodcroft, when the last time the Oilers played the Flames was December 27th, which is criminal. They should be playing at least one game down the stretch here. But either way, Woodcroft gave kind of a parting shot at the end of the last game. They beat Flames, and Flames outshot them again like 50-25, as they pretty much do with everybody. And Woodcroft said, yeah, they'll take a shot from their own end to try and pad their stats. And it was a bit of a shot. It was a bit of a shot at the coach, but he quickly moved on. He didn't want to make a big deal of it. But I certainly noticed what he was saying there, and I don't disagree. This coach emphasizes shot volume more than almost anything, and at what cost? How many times do you give up a really good an obvious pass and you shoot instead? I don't know. I can't break it down on a nightly basis. All I can say is at the end of the day, they do have like the worst shooting percentage in the league, or the second worst, and that's probably because they're shooting from too far out.
Did outplaying the Boston Bruins Tuesday night leave some hope for Flame fans that they can still make this work in terms of making the playoffs? Because, you still look at a situation where they had a lead late in the third and they give up the Zaka goal with about 5 minutes to go. To me, it's more of a point lost than one gained. So coming out of that game facing the Leafs tonight, is the glass half full or half empty?
It's half empty. Like it's such a good question. And we asked everybody in the room afterwards, is this something that, is this demoralizing or is this somehow encouraging? I mean, you got a point off the best team in the league and yet badly outplayed them. Yeah, they played the night before, but still, how do you look at it? And, players are going to say whatever they're going to say at this time of year. It's all pretty much robotic. But, I think the talking point in Calgary is certainly one of glass half empty, because at the end of the day, yeah, everyone's talking about how they outplayed the Bruins. Everyone's talking about the shot volume. But the number one thing everyone's talking about in this city is the fact that the first shot on goal went in. That's the 8th time this season that the first shot on goal has gone in. And it all speaks to the biggest talking point this entire season. And the whole reason why the Flames are where they are is because their goaltending's been horrific. I mean, they had the second best goalie in the league last year, and he's just struggled this year. And he'll regain his form. I don't think it'll be this year, but he'll regain his form. His career's not over, but it is confounding how he could go from number 2 in the in the world to, I don't know, he's probably ranked number 50 or 60 in the NHL right now.
So we joked about Daryl Sutter off the top, but like he is a polarizing guy. This doesn't seem like a case of him like wearing out his welcome type of thing with the players. Is there anything to that? Like where you mentioned the team's playing well, it's just not going in. They're not getting saves.
Yeah, I don't buy the theory because I think it's an easy one to say, oh, they've stopped playing for Sutter, and everyone knows he's got a short shelf life like Tortorella and like all these kind of guys, Keenan. I'm not buying that. The team is playing really, really well. The only reason they are where they are is because of goaltending. Like I said, I mean, they have the second fewest shots against in the National Hockey League this year. That's got to count for something. They have the second most shots for. Those are strange stats for me to trot out, but I saw a graphic the other day. There's like 7 teams since expansion that they finished top 2 in shots for and shots against. And like 4 of them won the Stanley Cup, 2 of them are finalists, and 1 won the Stanley Cup the next year. Like that's a metric that should be a recipe for success. But in terms of the coach, have the boys turned him out? I don't think they have. Do they hate him? Absolutely. They hate Daryl Sutter for sure. I can tell you that the room is not. He's not popular, but Scotty Bowman wasn't popular.
Right.
And you know, Kyper, you played for guys over the years that guys might have hated, but at the end of the day,
we loved Keenan. We all loved Mike Keenan.
And Keenan's a great example. I mean, he helped you get a ring, and you talk to guys around Calgary guys from LA who won a ring, and they'll tell you, I couldn't stand the guy, but he got me a ring. You know, is it all worth it if the guy gets you a ring? I don't know. That's a good debate for you to have on another day, Kyper, but I know people here, they're not expecting a ring anytime soon, and in the meantime, they've got to endure a guy who's really not fun to play with.
We're talking to Eric Francis, senior columnist with Sportsnet.ca and also Calgary Flame broadcaster. So in saying that, Eric, we know that for all intent and purposes, there's job security for Daryl Sutter, but Brad Treliving, not so much with, it's been well documented going into his last year of his contract. Does anybody believe for 1 second this guy's going to sell without a year extension anywhere to be seen right now?
Like you mean sell at the trade deadline?
Yes, sell at the trade deadline.
Well, they don't have anybody to sell. That's the problem. You know, the only guys with expiring contracts, you know, the obvious ones, if you suddenly become a seller, you know, you start looking, okay, whose contract expiring, who can be a rental somewhere. I think the only 4 guys on the team are 3 of them are 4th liners, and the other one is a 7th or 8th defenseman. So, like, there's no assets here to sell off as a seller. You'd have to try and go out and make a pure hockey trade if you want to try to affect some significant change at this deadline.
We have seen a few hockey trades already right now.
Yeah, for sure. And Brad Treliving, as we know, is no stranger to rolling the dice and making the big move. I just think that he's been trying to watch closely to see if this team's worthy of spending any future assets on, and I think the answer is pretty obvious that it's not. It's not worthy of getting any sort of bump. And plus, also, I'll say, guys, like their top 9 forwards, I don't really know who you'd move out. Like I'm telling you, these metrics, you know, with all the shots, and I know they're not getting the results. They've got a pretty good top 9, and they've got a pretty good top 5 on the blue line. There isn't a massive hole on this team, is what I'm saying. They did want early in the year to grab a top 9 forward, but Jacob Pelche stepped in and been really, really good, and is probably the most exciting thing to happen to the team all season long. So you're not moving him out. So you're not going to hear from me on trade deadline day coverage tomorrow on Sportsnet at all, because nothing's going to be happening in Calgary.
Well, that's so funny to me you say that, just because the conversation we're having, you know, these are fixable things that can pivot, you know, just getting some shooting luck or getting the goaltender going. I know Dan Vladar has had some runs of decent play over his career. You know, it feels like the Flames are in a tough pack of their schedule, too. I mean, what is it? Avalanche, Bruins, Leafs, Wild, Stars, Wild. Like, it's a tough spot for them. But does it not feel like because the West is as soft as it is, that an addition might be enough to get them in the playoffs, get some playoff games, and then kind of cross your fingers and hope you get some bounces?
Well, that's the whole debate that Brad Treliving's having. You know, one night he watches his team, you know, outplay the Boston Bruins, and you're probably thinking, yeah, we should do that. However, that exact same night, because they only got 1 point, they lost ground on 3 different teams in the race. And now they're like, I think they're 5 points. I didn't check after last night, but, after that last game, they look up in the standings, and I think there's only 21 games left for the Flames or something like that, and they're 5 points out. Now, I saw a lot of people go, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it equates to them having to play over 750 hockey from now to the end of the season. You can't play 750 hockey if you don't have a goaltender. Yeah. And that's the thing, if people say, well, what's wrong with the Flames right now? How can they fix it at the trade deadline? Well, they need a goalie. Well, they're not going to trade for a goalie because Markstrom, we all know, is a world-class goaltender, and eventually he'll get back on pace. And Dan Vladar has proven to be one of the better backups in the league up until like the last couple of weeks. So it's got to come from within. They've got the answer in that dressing room. They've just got to make it happen on the ice.
So what you're saying is it's all Markstrom's fault because
it's all your fault.
There's nothing else. If you could talk about one thing outside of goaltending, I mean, has Kadri given enough offense? Where would you look other than the goaltending for Calgary if I asked you to grab your magnifying glass?
Obviously Jonathan Huberdeau has been a massive disappointment. He's on pace right now to have the 3rd largest point drop in NHL history from one year to the next. I mean, that is not a company. That's not a company you want to be part of. It obviously hasn't worked out for him yet here in Calgary, but hey, he's got 8 years to figure it out. And then Kadri's been good. It hasn't been great. He's been good. He's been as advertised, which is the best way that Brad Treliving puts it, and I agree with that. As a secondary center. And then I would say that the answer, though, it's easy to point to Huberdeau as the number one reason, because if these guys got 5 or 10 more goals, they've lost 13 games in overtime, guys. Like, you get just that one, goal here or there from a Huberdeau, or he sets one up, and suddenly this team is right in the thick of things. And then, but I would say defending. Going into this season, there was a lot of talk around here, probably only around here, that this might be one of the better defensive groups in the league. Their top 6 defensemen. Well, they lost Oliver Shillington for the whole season pretty much here, and no sign of him coming anytime soon. And the whole group has just not been good. Mackenzie Weegar hasn't been as good as advertised. It's easy to blame the goalie, but as you guys know, it's often because there are too many good chances being given up by the blue liners. So it's a collective thing. Markstrom at the end of the year, and Huberdeau will take the fall for the most part. I don't know if Treeling will take the fall. That'll be a very interesting development. But as a group, this team just found ways to lose games that they had no business losing.
Having a baby, man. It's messing up his sleep. I think that's what's going on with the goaltender there. Last one for me, just with the Weegar thing you mentioned, he hasn't been as good. There had been sort of a passing rumor that they could move his deal before the no trade kicked in. They would never do something that out there, would they?
I guess anything's possible. Yeah. I don't think this is a general manager who is going to try and make a move tomorrow just to make a move.
Right.
And I think taking one of your core 3 or 4 defensemen, your number, whatever he is, 3 or 4, even though he hasn't had the season I think they were hoping, I don't think that's going to be, netting you anything that'll help you move forward. This is a GM who covets centers and defensemen above all else. And I don't see him just peddling out a defenseman, a core defenseman, who you've got locked up for a lot of years at the deadline. I'd be very surprised at that.
Last one for me, Eric, and that just want to touch base on what you just said moments ago, and that's Brad Treliving's situation. Now, it's been well documented here in Toronto that Kyle Dubas is playing the last year of his deal. And me anyways, thinks that the consequences for, say, not getting out of the first round would be no extension. Where are you or the Calgary Flame fans if, in fact, Calgary misses the playoffs? Could you see a scenario of Calgary missing the playoffs and Brad Treliving signs an extension as the general manager of the Calgary Flames?
Yeah, I could, but I could just as easily see a scenario where Brad Treliving says, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to move on and do something else. I think that the ball is 100% in Brad Treliving's court. I don't think he'll be fired, and I don't think that I think if he does not come back, it's not because he's not wanted here. I think it'd be because he decides that the situation here is not something that he wants to continue on with. And that, don't forget, I mean, he's got other business interests outside of this, right? His father, has an empire with Boston Pizza. And I personally, I wonder if there's ever a day when he wants to go and kind of take on that.
I can't see him delivering pizzas.
No, that's a good point. You know what? He's not a great driver either. So I don't think that would be a good thing for him. But I think Brad Treliving, I think he's holding the cards, which sounds crazy. I'm not saying he could write his own ticket and they're going to pay him over the top to stay here. I just think that'll be the most fascinating thing about the offseason here for sure, his future.
Okay, I got to follow this up because would the feel be that maybe there's just a different philosophy between Brad and maybe his head coach?
Kyper, you've come such a long way from just being a player who turned into a broadcaster and journalist. Honest to God, that's a great question. Like, you picked up on what I'm saying about the situation here. There's friction. In my mind, there's no doubt that this is not an ideal situation for this general manager, and maybe even for the coach. The way they've handled some of their youngsters when they're called up, I think there's a different philosophy at play with the two men, and I'm not sure they can coexist moving forward. That remains to be seen. I think that's fair to say.
See, that's why you're a regular on this show, because you just call it the way you see it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll get me in trouble, but that's okay. It usually does. It usually does, and that's okay.
It's okay. We're used to it on this show. Hey, Eric, great stuff today, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, boys. Always good to talk to you. Take care.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Daryl Sutter's strong, opinionated guy.
So they gave him a 3-year contract after last year, and this is the first year of it, is my understanding. Something like that.
Off the top of my head, it sounds right.
Yeah. Because, it feels like there's frustration with Sutter. He mentioned it doesn't feel like the players love him. It doesn't sound like the manager loves him, but it sounds like he's there.
Well, if we can go back a few years, just Daryl showing up again, right?
Yeah.
And it was, many people thought that ship had sailed.
Oh, yeah.
That it was just over. And he comes in early, has great success, and he becomes a quote machine, and we love him, and, barely make out what he's saying, and it was all cute and fun and
straight out the Dutton Ranch with his shotgun.
Hit the like button on your phone, and it's okay when you're winning.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
And
that sounds like
did Brad
drama.
Hire him back, or was that somebody upstairs?
I see what you're saying. It is. It's interesting because they are simultaneously the least interesting team in the league. They're like, yeah, we're not great, we're not bad, we're just going to go forward and do nothing. But they're also very interesting because this stuff. Why are they the way that they are? Can I read? Are we going to move on from the Flames?
We are. Wanted to just ask you, but I can do it after.
I'll just do a quick thing.
Yeah,
Frank Saravelli tweeted earlier that the Yotes adding the Voracek contract allows them to move. They move Bustad to the Oilers, but allows them to move Schmaltz or Krause or whatever because they don't have to worry about the salary floor anymore. So they can trade whoever and still be above the floor.
So Gary's memo only applies to the teams that he doesn't love, and
the Coyotes are embarrassing the league.
But didn't he just send out a memo saying you can't do this?
How many dead contracts?
Exactly.
How many dead contracts do they have?
Let me look it up.
40 to 50% of their salary cap hit is dead money, not real money.
Oh, come on.
And they're just above the floor by a few million. I think they're in LTIR like 33 million or something. And they're paying players 43 million.
So they got
it's
the same
sham.
They got the same payroll
I thought
as
you were
say
going something else there. For a second.
they got the same payroll as say an indoor lacrosse team.
Yeah, they're gonna go up against the Rock this weekend.
So they have a $28 million on injured reserve. Voracek, Weber, Andrew Ladd, Brian Little, Josh Brown. And they've retained a bit of salary. I think Kane and
they got Kane, OEL.
Yeah.
Somebody put out a picture of all their best dead cap players.
Yeah.
In Arizona.
Datsuk, Hossa, Pronger, Kane. They
Shea
got
Weber.
a Hall of Fame team of players who never wore the jersey because they've been manipulating the salary cap for so long.
Dead cap Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah. Way to go. Way to go. Playing in the Sun Devils rink.
Hey.
Trading away anyone who's any good at hockey.
Hey, that could be all yours, Connor Bedard.
If you're Connor Bedard watching this, be like,
you could just envision 30, 40 years from now, you see your dead cap money on Arizona. What a thrill.
I know. I'm looking at the league standings. How far are they from the bottom? Okay. Unfortunately for them, they're 28th of 32 teams. They need to lose a bit more down the stretch, and I think they know that. So they're really pulling the plug on things here.
So I got a source that tells me, JB, you're right on the money on Daryl Sutter's contract, 3 years, $4 million a year.
So they just wouldn't want to eat that and hire someone else because it's clear he's an issue for the group, and by that I mean the players and the GM.
But everybody else likes him.
Yeah,
the media?
but other than
The
that,
media.
media doesn't like him either.
The fans like him?
I think in a way, they're like amused by him for sure.
Nah.
They'd rather win than be amused by the coach, though. Is my guess.
I would imagine so. That's very fair.
So, you see any lineup changes tonight for Toronto?
We talked about that fourth line or that third line with O'Reilly, Lafferty, and Kerfoot.
Yeah.
Did a little something for me.
Yeah. No, I'm just talking about maybe bodies in, bodies out because they've got extra D now.
What's Schen's deal?
I would put Luke Schenn in tonight.
See, if he's available, I know that he's supposed to have a baby today or tomorrow.
They're on the ice. Gustafson and Luke Schenn both on the ice today for the Leafs.
Okay.
They're on the ice.
They were there.
Yeah. I see. For me,
Both are coming in.
what I watched last night, I would guess that they would take Liljegren out tonight and put Luke Schenn in.
Liljegren was no good.
He was no good, and he got hit too. Or
got banged up. He had a weird fall.
He had a weird fall. I think if he's not feeling
You're
great.
right. It's an easy pull. He's not in tonight.
It's an easy pull.
You'd love to get them both in, wouldn't you? Get them started somehow.
3 right-handed shots in the lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, sure. Throw them in.
And then who would you pull out?
I don't know. You can't pull Hall after his best game of the year. Can't be Brody. Can't be Riley. What are we down? What are we down to? Gio? Give Gio a night off in Calgary? No chance.
Oh yeah, Calgary can't.
So yeah, Gustafson won't get in. I think I think they're going to play Luke Schenn with Morgan Riley, like in playoffs. Like I think that's his partner.
Boy.
Okay, so that means he's going to play 20 minutes a night.
No, Lyubushkin only played 14 minutes a night
with
Riley last year. I think Riley was on power play. Lyubushkin didn't get. When the game mattered, they said, "Oh, Bush, you sit down. We're going to roll with Muzz here."
Any concern against Tampa Bay?
Yep, lots.
Foot speed of Luke Schenn.
Yeah, lots. Yeah, tons.
No concern. I don't worry about anything.
Do you know when
You've stopped?
I just
because
when
you're
Luke
exhausted.
Schenn won the Stanley Cup with Tampa Bay, he alternated between playing with Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev and being a healthy scratch. I just stuck up my middle finger to the camera. My point is he played 11 minutes in 11 games playing with Hedman. So he's either in the stands or on the top pair, or he was in the stands or with Sergachev.
Yeah.
And then the other cup, he played 9 minutes a game, and I think in 9 games. So look at him with Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is a better player with him. They liked him. He has experience with these kind of players.
And he has experience. Voice crack there. And he has experience going in and out of the lineup, which Keefe talked about yesterday too, which is huge and which Sandin would not want him to do.
Correct.
Okay, let's take a break here. Steve Valaquette's going to join us, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG. Pat Kane makes his debut.
We've barely talked about that.
Jacob Chikrin makes his debut.
Oh, the Bruins too. We haven't mentioned.
Oh,
We got
they did
Bruins
some things.
talk
Bertuzzi,
still with Bertuzzi.
Pasta.
Hall,
Injuries.
Taylor Hall out. Nick Foligno out.
What does that mean
to the Boston Bruins? Plenty of meat still on the bone on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We are back after these words.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
We got Steve Valiquette joining us soon, analyst for the New York Rangers, MSG. They're getting ready for Patrick Kane.
Barely even talked about that. Just Hall of Famer, trades teams, go to the Garden.
We barely knew. It was flip a coin time. I'm not even sure he knew.
Yeah, that it was actually going to go down.
Well, it really came down to one team. This thing, we said it all along that between Jonathan Taves, prior to him announcing that he's shutting it down, this thing was going to play out exactly like Claude Giroux did last season when he left Philadelphia and went to Florida. All right. There are peaks and then there are valleys. And we like this valley the best.
We like to be of which side of that exactly, Kyper? The valleys are good, I think.
Yes. Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers, MSG. We're just talking about trade deadline valley, and I can't recall one being as much fun as this one for me for a long time. And I was in early on those TSN versus Sportsnet battles. But this has been a lot of fun. And I'm sure for you and maybe the Rangers anticipating Pat Kane, maybe some fun as well.
Hey, buddy, seriously, how pumped is Sammy right now? Like, how is Sammy's blood pressure? I cannot. No, I'm sorry. I've been
Last night hurt,
you guys
Valley.
know I listen. You know, I can see it right now. Kyper and Bourne float rolling into Nathan Phillips Square. Sammy's sitting in a hot tub filled with little Buddha.
There, I love it. Perfect.
You know what, boys? We're almost there too. We're ready to play on the Stanley Cup parade here in New York. We're really excited. Everybody around the building, MSG Networks, it's electric. I can barely cross the street without getting recognized. The team it's just on fire right now. It's like the city is wrapped its arms around the New York Rangers. And, you know, it's funny. You look at what's been going on around the league, and it's a league that we don't recognize, right, Kyper? That this is not the way it's supposed to go down. We're all supposed to wait until midnight and then make our moves. And now everybody's in 20 games before the deadline and or the end of the season. And I feel like we just got to be prepared right now for anything. And, you know, as you guys know, I listen to your podcast, and I think you're doing terrific. And I was listening to the one with Ken Hitchcock, and the part where he said the top two lines saw off, that one really hit me because I thought it was the part that the Rangers struggled with Tampa Bay last year in the Eastern Conference Final. And that's why you have to add Kane. They just didn't get inside. And if you go back, fellas, to games 4, 5, and 6 against Tampa for the Rangers last year, they lost 4-1, 3-1, and 2-1, but they were leading in that series 2-0, and they were leading 2-1 going into the third period of game 3. Like, they had it. And then Tampa locked them down, and they only had 2 high danger chances in game 6. They only had 3 in game 5, and they only had 4 in game 4.
Wow.
So, and it's interesting too, like both teams scored 14 goals in the series. Take away the empty nets, but both teams scored 14 goals in the series. So you're right there. And what happened in that series, guys, was that Panarin was not able to get inside. And he's the second highest paid player in the league, but he didn't have the horses with him to get inside. He had 2 shots himself from inside the slot, and he was only able to pass the puck to one of his teammates to get them inside the slot in the last 3 games. So why do you bring Kane? It's almost like that was the Rangers' need to allow Bourne for that saw-off that Ken Hitchcock's talking about. You know, like that's just what this team needed because they've already slotted well on the third line with the kid line, and they are playing terrific. They're playing well defensively. They put a lot of pressure on you. And now you've got Vesey coming from the top line down to play with Goudreau and Mott. So you've got energy. And I got to say, boys, I got traded here in 2003, and I was here, Kyper, right at the dump when Leachy and everybody got traded. And I was traded for Peter Nedved. You know, figure that out. For that's a 1-for-1. But like that's what happened here. And right now, I've seen really the best lineup since before that team was broken up. Is right now. This is an amazing forward group of 4.
It is. It's an amazing forward group of four, and you got Fox and Trouba and Schneider and Miller, and it's an unbelievable decor and a great goaltender. I can understand why everyone is so excited. I'm asking this honestly, not because explain to me what's happening with the amount of people they play. Like they're 11-5, 11-6, 11-5. Like they're that jammed against the cap. Is it going to be that way for the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's going to be dicey. I think that Drury was definitely comfortable doing it because they are in such a comfortable spot in the playoffs right now, and it's just the way it's going to be. I think it's going to be – it might be like this it'll be like this until after the deadline. So it's just going to be a little bit here. And you know what? The cap gymnastics, like, out of my scope. I remember sitting down with Lou Lamoriello once. This is a funny one, like 6 years ago, right? And I'm trying to sell him on the analytics, and I was talking to him about roster management and how he can look and use our data. And he said to me, Stevie, stay in your lane. So that's where I'm at with that one, too. Like, I rely on my co-host, John Giannone, and I'm like, what's going on here? Why are we 11-5? And what's going on? And we've got guys on the bench and not playing in the last game, 2 players. It's just been bizarre.
Larry Brooks tweeted earlier tonight the Rangers were deemed ineligible by league for emergency recall. They're apparently going 12-5 tonight versus Ottawa in Kane's debut. Hey, Valley, can you maybe fill in a little bit of the blanks here in this past week on, like, when did Pat Kane to the Rangers go from being a pipe dream to reality? They went Tarasenko first. In a perfect world, if they knew what they knew the last 48 hours, would it have been different? Would we have seen Kane here first before Tarasenko?
I mean, I don't know all of the minutia, but I do know that Kane, you saw his comments as soon as Tarasenko and that deal went down to come here. He was only going to come here, and because of the fact that he only wanted to come here, Chris had to make it work, and I'm sure that Drew has to go up to ownership and make sure everything's going to fit, and then he runs it through everybody. And I think it was in the works as soon as I would say that Chicago identifies New York as the only spot for him, and that was it. I mean, this is the only place he was going to come. So, I mean, that's why you get a second and a fourth, right, Kyper? And the conditional second, I mean, it's kind of sad that, like, not sad, but we've just seen it change so much where the star players used to fetch like 5 first-rounders. Now a second and a fourth for Kane just doesn't even make sense. But at the same time, like, I don't even think seconds matter. Like, I'm done talking prospects in drafts right now. Seriously. Like, I even went back for the Rangers. I don't know about the Leafs, but I went back until the 04-05 lockout just to see how the Rangers had hit on their second rounders. They've only had 3 guys ever play for the Rangers that were drafted in the second round since 04-05. That's out of 21 second rounders. Okay? Like, Anisimov, Dubinsky, and Derek Stepan. That's it. So It's not like, I mean, I don't even think of second rounders as anything. It's a lot of Americans use this parallel with me, and it's the NFL. You can take a 5th rounder, and he's going to be a big piece for you next year. It's just not the case with hockey. And I've been watching the draft picks roll in, guys, since 18 when the letter went out, and I'm actually done with it. I've seen a lot of whiffs. I've seen some guys hit, but, like, it's a crapshoot, and that's with having the 1st overall and the 2nd overall pick.
Yeah, it's really funny. You get into the analytics of it, like the value of picks, the guys beyond kind of the second round or even in the second round, some cases, like a 2% chance of having someone who plays meaningful, 200-plus games for you. It is pretty rare. I'm with you that when you get the chance to get better, you should. And with that in mind, the likelihood in the first round for the Rangers is New Jersey or Carolina. How do you like those 2 teams? Is there one the Rangers would prefer to play?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Carolina, they defend the best, and New Jersey has a better offense. So you can pick whichever one you want. If it's me, I'll go up against New Jersey and go our offense against your offense. I'd rather do that than go against the defense of Carolina. The one analytic, Thorny, that I lean on the most for playoff success is high danger chances against at 5-on-5 per 60. Mm-hmm. It's a mouthful, but it's legit. Like, the guys, or the teams rather, that are best at that in the regular season, and over the last number of years, I think it's been 6 now, the teams that win the Stanley Cup have been in the top 5 And as I said, listen to you guys all the time. It makes me sort of feel like you guys were pulling the strings at this trade deadline because everything you talked about basically happened. And a lot of which was defending stuff, right? Like you're talking about getting a 6th, 7th, 8th D, and you're talking about sandpaper, and you've got your core 4 guys that you're built around. There's no question about it. When I look at the lineup for Toronto now, I mean, you guys are looking at a different team now, but certainly a team that's sitting comfortably at the table.
Yeah, the Leafs had one high danger chance last night. Is that good, Valley, by your metrics?
I don't know what the hell happened last night. I was watching the goals against for Samsonov this morning. I'm like, oh my goodness.
He was swimming, wasn't he?
Gone. Yeah. And, I don't know what you guys are going to do that way. I ran a lot of numbers on Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper last year with his .902 in the playoffs, he also had 6 goals more than he should have allowed against expected, which ranked him last out of all goalies that played last year in the playoffs. So I would say, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Colorado had the worst goaltending and won a Stanley Cup. So, I mean, I'm also at odds with how important it is now.
But they also had one of the best young defensemen in history in front of him.
Yes. No, that's the thing, right? And they limited the high danger chances. That's what it is, Kyper. And
it is.
The one thing the Leafs don't have is they don't have a Hedman, and they don't have that guy. They don't have him. So I wonder if, it's not like you're going to find a Makar or a Hedman over this trade deadline, but I guess that's the one piece you don't have.
Just want to touch base on Pat Kane's debut tonight versus the Ottawa Senators and the power play, Valley. I see Zibanejad, I see Kreider, I see Kane, I see Panarin, I see Tarasenko, I see Fox. One of them's gonna
get in.
One of them's not gonna be very happy.
What if you go Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Fox? So Trocheck's out and Tarasenko's out. And you know what it's like to me? Honestly, when I look at this roster, I'm thinking about what it's like to play for Team Canada, Team U.S. You're going to the Olympics. How do you get a collection of all the top guys to care about the crest and not the name on the back and know your role and be happy in it for the greater good of the team? Whatever team does that in this year's Cup, in the Stanley Cup this year, playoffs, is going to win because every team's got egos. You guys know that. And there's subplots in every locker room. But if the team, the Rangers, Leafs, Boston, Carolina's getting deeper, I mean, look, everybody's going to have this. So whoever deals with it best and checks their ego is going to win because, look, like one more thing that I looked at the other day because we're talking about sawing off the top lines that they cancel out. It's a goofy thing, but there's some relevance here. It's since 04-05, all of the game-winning goal scorers to clinch Cup. Listen to these names, seriously. Arturi Lehkonen, Ross Colton, Lars Eller, Patrick Hornquist, Dave Bolin, Maxim Talbot, Travis Moen, come on, Jeff Carter. It's not stars. It's all those guys in D. So, if everybody just plays their role, isn't that the most important thing? And, that's probably what it's going to come down to. Everyone's good.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at this Rangers roster as we're talking about it. How has the new addition of Nico Mikkola and Tarasenko been? I know Tarasenko's a sexier name, but I'm actually curious about that D-man too.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. Gerard Gallant loves him, and he's long and he nails, and he'll hurt you. He'll block shots. I talked to the guys in St. Louis after the trade, and they loved him. He's going to be a hole for them on their PK, so he can help you if one of your top PKD is in the box. He's been really good. He's been the first, number 6 we've seen come through here in a long time that's been legit.
Valley, talk to me about K'Andre Miller because I did have a chance to meet him when I was down there with the alumni. I can't think of a nicer guy, and I can't help but believe him when he says it was accidental. And I know people can have their opinions. That's mine. What do you think being suspended 3 games for that act will do to him moving forward? You think it rattles him?
No, I think he'd dig in on this one because he's a little embarrassed by it, and you guys know what it's like. We all have brain farts every once in a while, and I thought just by watching it over many times that his eye contact was not on Doughty. He was more or less trying to spit into space, almost reactionary under the duress of a scrum. I mean, it's not like taking your mouth guard out and celebrating for a goal, like that kind of distraction, but just one that was just odd, different. I'd certainly say from being around, there's no chance that was purposeful and it was an accident. And I know he feels terrible about it. That's really all I have on that. I just don't see it because it's not something I see in hockey. We're not like that, like none of us, you know, and it's just, I just thought it was just an accident. I thought it was a brain fart. He just really screwed up, and that was it. You know?
Totally agree. Hey, pal, always great having you on the show. We always appreciate the support you give the Real Kyper and Bourne show, and you're always welcome. Thanks, man.
Hey, boys, keep it up, babe, and keep having fun, and keep Sammy in check. He's getting too high again.
Thanks, Valley. Hopefully we're having daily visits with you during the conference final, man. That's the best case scenario for everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely. That'd be awesome. See you, fellas. Take care.
Stay in touch. Enjoy Pat Kane's debut tonight. Steve Alliquette, analyst with the New York Rangers.
What a roster they have.
Again, just to emphasize again, Rangers, Devils, Leafs, Tampa Bay. Someone's
the Hurricanes second in the league.
I know, but somebody's getting their heart broken in the first round.
Oh, and someone who went in hard. The Tanner Jeannot trade looks atrocious. First, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. You could have got Jacob Chychrun twice.
I'm not saying anything.
I
withstand.
Can I remind you that you said the exact same thing about Hagel?
No, I didn't. Not me. You got the wrong guy. No.
You didn't think it was?
I did.
Absolutely asinine that a guy like
Loved
Hagel
the contract,
gave
made
up
perfect sense to me from the start.
Two first rounders? Okay.
Made sense to
Maybe
me.
it was Sammy then.
Oh, I was crapping all over it. And that is exactly why I will not crap all over this one.
Yes.
But this one doesn't come with the contract, or he's not scoring 30. Maybe they know something I don't. But in the context of the rest of the trades that have happened at the deadline, where Chychrun's a first and a second, and Bertuzzi's a first and a fourth, Jeannot is not a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and the fifth.
Does Jeannot not have the ability to turn himself into Tom Wilson?
He better turn himself into two Tyler Bertuzzis just for the price they paid. I'm not saying he's not a good player or that he can't be valuable. By the costs of the deadline, that is a wild outlier, isn't it?
Listen,
5 picks?
What's he have? 7 goals?
4.
4?
Yeah.
You hope to see the guy that played last year.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm saying he went for more than Chychrun, for more than Ekholm, for more than everyone who's a big name at the deadline here.
First, a second, third, and fourth.
And a fifth.
I don't care about the fourth or the fifth. They're not that valuable to me. First, second, and third.
Yeah.
Chychrun's picks are better.
Okay, but we're debating.
Yeah. No, I know we're splitting hairs right now.
Over Chychrun and Jeannot.
I know we're splitting hairs.
I'm with you.
And yes, they did overpay, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah.
And that's why Sammy's really hoping that Tampa's heart's broken after the first round.
Yeah.
He's going to be good.
There's a chance. Yeah, he is going to be good.
He's going to be good. Like, I'm telling you right now, that's why I will not be on record anywhere saying it's an overpay. Because
would any amount have been an overpay? Like, we're talking about in context of the store. I can buy something nice at the store that costs me 10 times too much.
No further comments or questions at this time.
Even if I like the object, I paid too much.
No comment.
Anyway.
Okay, and we've been over, we've given it to Pierre Dorian over the years, no question. Calling for the playoffs last season, didn't happen. This year, the narrative turned into meaningful games. It's happening. We look back now over the course of less than a year, and he's turned DeBrincat, Claude Giroux, and Chychrun into Ottawa Senators, and it hasn't cost him any young guys.
The deal they got on Jacob Chychrun was the value shop of all time. But Arizona turned down some deals based on not wanting to spend any money. Does that not seem like a problem, Bettman? But
now they're trading for fake money.
Now they're trading for fake money. So Arizona ends up getting whatever back. It's a great deal for Ottawa. I'm pumped for them. I'm pumped for Sens fans. You want Ottawa to be good and Buffalo to be good for the Leafs' sake. Let's get some good games. But yeah, these are good games for them to steal. Great contract.
As long as he stays healthy, he can play 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And that they'll get true value.
He defends. He gets points. He's a great player. How about a top four of Sanderson, Shabbat, Zub, and him?
Is this going to get them in the playoffs?
They're starting from a sizable disadvantage here. They dug a pretty deep hole. I would love for them to get in. It would be a lot of fun. I'm going to say no, that they don't get in, but I like the idea that they're going for it. Can I read a tweet from our boy, the Oak Leafs, who is very funny on Twitter? I hope Shen does something so stupid and egregiously violent in his first game back that it makes Peros charter a effing Concorde flight to Calgary.
You may notice a certain producer of this show comment below that saying that I've never agreed with something more.
That's hilarious.
That is a great tweet. He deserves the shine for that one. So,
it'll be interesting to see if Shen can work himself into just every day. Top six guy.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any wiggle room right now to still think that you could unload Justin Hall's $2 million and bring in something else?
On D or forward? I know a lot of people are clamoring for another
a left winger?
Yeah.
A left winger?
Another shoot at the net guy.
Bertuzzi.
Gone.
Would you have liked to seen?
Oh, God, yeah. That'd have been money. That'd have been perfect.
Would you have given up? What do the Leafs have next year? They've got their
2024 first still.
They still have it.
And
and they have Boston's
Would
first.
you have given that up?
And Boston's first.
Would you have given that up?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Take it. Let's go. Yeah. Bertuzzi's good. He creates a ton. He's in a scoring rut this year, but he creates at a super high rate.
And listen, I am not saying that this is true or, it's confirmed or anything, but someone said that Detroit wouldn't be up to doing Brendan Shanahan any favors.
Is that so? Is him and Stevie Y got a little bit of...
There might be a little bit of that competitive spirit between them, teammates, and
given the chance to do the same deal.
Big markets, and maybe there's a personal race to a original six Stanley Cup between them.
Boston Bruins, yeah.
What do you think?
You're not telling me what you know. You're telling me what you hear. That's really, really, possible. Hearing that, it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's almost guaranteed. All these old players, Kyper, all his friends, they're the most ego-driven, competitive nuts.
100%.
Oh, we're the sorest
your generation
losers.
is so competitive.
Sorest losers you'll ever find.
Leafs could use a little of that.
They could.
Yeah.
They have it in the front office, apparently.
Yeah.
You have yet to see a temper tantrum out of me. I'm telling you. But I'm evolving. And then I take a couple of steps back, Derek.
Your bad days.
Yes. I can regress.
So he didn't like when Sammy told us not to talk about something the other day.
Oh, God, that was so loud.
I'm sorry, is Luke Shen here? Yeah. Some of that tonight.
Do you think Taylor Hall's really hurt?
We have to nail down the Bruins here, boys.
Oh.
We haven't talked about the Bruins for the first 40 minutes of the show. Or
Your first thoughts as a Super Leaf fan when you found out Bertuzzi's going to Boston?
Crap. Crap, that sucks. Would have liked that for Toronto.
Yeah.
This is my nightmare.
Could they have gotten more annoying? Like they get Hathaway.
Brad Marchand and him and Bertuzzi on the same team is an unbelievably frustrating team.
Like they are
detestable.
Boys, I don't want to say it. I'm just going to curse them, but they're perfect.
Oh,
they're a perfect team. If they don't win, it is the biggest choke job of all time. They are perfect.
Yeah.
They have the best goalie in the league. They have
the best goalie in the league who scored the other night, by the way. We barely mentioned that.
They're balanced on defense now. They have 4 tough lines. I know they lost Foligno, Hall's out, but who cares? But whatever, those guys are good players. But
Hall's out, Foligno's out.
Yeah,
and
but
we think that.
Yeah, but they just got Tyler Bertuzzi, who's probably
they got him because those two guys are out,
and they're both. He's probably more effective than both of those guys.
But is the idea though that what if one of those guys comes back in 3 weeks? They have a salary cap pickle here, do they not?
No, it's over. They put those guys on long term.
Right.
They bring. This is Tampa Bay.
I
This
know,
is
but I'm
Kucherov.
saying, like, there's no chance that those guys are going to come back. They're just going to be hurt for 44 days until the playoffs start.
Oh, this could reek of Kucherov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Didn't the
could
league
be,
literally send a memo? No, they said no
this-
trading for it.
Listen, you're right. They could come back. They could come back next week, or they can come back in game one.
Wouldn't you
Maybe
sit down with Morgan Riley and be like, we're going to give you 6 weeks off. Not because you've done anything wrong. We just want to spend $7.5 million.
Yeah, but that's illegal.
Well, so is being
That's
hurt.
against the rules,
Yeah.
JB.
Right.
You have to look hurt.
Yeah. All right. Well, in warm up, we're going to need you to step on a puck, take 6 weeks off.
No,
They're perfect, boys. They're the perfect team. There's no flaw.
yeah.
They are perfect.
I love that.
They're
Would
like
do
if
that.
they don't win the Stanley Cup, it's the biggest colossal failure of all time. Number one, because they're going to have one of the all-time great records in the history of the league.
Yeah, that it would go down as one of the biggest major upsets for sure. This one would be even worse than Columbus's knock on
Tampa.
Tampa.
Tampa had 126 points that year.
Yes.
It was substantial.
This would be in that ballpark for sure.
Above
This team is better than that.
Yeah, no,
Tampa team.
above it. This one would be above that.
their playoff year than that team. That team was first in scoring by a mile.
Yeah,
like
what are
they
the Bruins?
scored.
The Bruins are unbelievable.
I don't think they're first in scoring. They might be fourth or fifth, but they are. They're unbelievable. I do think that
They're almost plus 100.
How are they not first in scoring? They got to be first in
I
scoring.
think it's New Jersey or Edmonton.
No,
or
there's
those
nobody even
teams.
close,
Oh,
I
is it
think.
really? Okay. Edmonton Oilers are first, 237, and they're second at 224. Sabres 222.
Sabres.
Yeah. In terms of goals per game, they're third in the league.
It's the goal differential
Oh my
that's
God,
off the charts.
their goals against per game, they are miles ahead of the next best team.
Like I said, it's almost plus 100.
Yeah. The Carolina Hurricanes are the second best defensive team in the NHL, and if they gave up, Boston would have to give up 30 goals tonight. To fall into second.
The Bruins have given up 126 goals this season.
Listen,
the Anaheim Ducks have given up 252.
I can't
Oh
recall. I can't recall
Wow.
watching two guys in net, and we just watched the Bruins go through Alberta, and Swayman was really good in Edmonton, and then Allmark was lights out in Calgary on a back-to-back when you're totally getting outplayed, and those two guys find a way to get you 4 points on that.
I love this pressure for them. A couple of injured guys in Hall and
You
Foligno.
were really hanging your hat on.
It's a thing.
On it's too good and it's too right and not enough adversity.
No. It's not
it will
that.
come back and bite you.
I'll go ahead and take my shots at the Bruins. I understand that they're built really well. It's an exceptional team. They're perfectly built.
Perfect team.
If we're allowed to say some other things than
Yes.
that, Patrice Bergeron's statistics have fallen off pretty significantly. So have David Krejci's, so have Brad Marchand's. They're not the guys they were during their heyday. They are much better built now as a team than being reliant on those guys around them. I tend to think it's the elite guys who pull you through in the big moments, and those guys are not as they were. I don't know if they have a guy in the top, outside of Pasternak's their guy. It's their D that's really good. And that's the one place where I don't see any real holes is
perfect.
I think it was in Calgary. I'm watching the Flames go down on a 2-on-1, and Lindholm just steps right up and picks the puck right out of the middle, and
They also give up 50 shots in that game.
goes the other way.
Lindholm, McAvoy, Orlov, Carlo as the top four is
And how about that?
unbelievable.
How about that debut for Orlov? How about just coming in and having such a presence?
Yeah, 2-1.
And maybe, just to come full circle on the beginning of our show, maybe that's where maybe a guy like McCabe feels like, oh boy, I'm supposed to be Muzzin's replacement, and I'm supposed to be this big physical guy, and maybe it just got a little bit wrapped around him.
I was actually thinking, when he walks into the dressing room, you're the coach, you're the GM, whatever role you would prefer to have. How do you tell him, or maybe you don't, your expectations for him, what you want to see from him? I was thinking, do do you just let him be the guy he is, or do you set some?
No, you don't set any parameters off.
You don't
that.
say what we want from you is.
Yeah, maybe in a real loose way.
Yeah.
It's just say, we know your game. Go out there and just have some fun. It's going to be a great ride here. You're going to be a big part of it. And you just kind of let it evolve.
Yeah.
To have gone in there right before he stepped on the ice for his first game and start filling him between the ears with, thoughts or parameters or systems and
Well,
and
he
all
did
of
mention
that.
that after the game, that it's very different.
It's very different. And it's going to take time for him.
Yeah. He said that the Leafs have much more defensively responsible forwards than they're used to playing with, which then they're supposed to be more active down the walls in the O-zone because they trust that they have coverage behind them.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a bit of a, you got to figure it out. Like, I usually don't go here, but now I'm going. Like, he'll be caught in the middle here. I think Leafs fans need to give him a sec. Like, let him get acclimated before you go. He can't play.
And he had the yips a little bit off of a face-off where he coughed it up. I think the middle of the slot in the slot, and
then he made a kick save and a beauty on a good shot block.
And that stuff will get cleaned up as he gets his comfort zone.
Yep. We got
perfect Bruins. No flaws.
Pressure on them is great.
Colossal failure if they don't win the cup.
This is the hardest attempt at a reverse jinx I've ever seen.
No.
So
reverse jinx. I would never reverse jinx anyone.
Yeah, Bertuzzi is just a really effective guy. He'll play with Coyle and Frederick, and looks like out of the gates. Maybe you guys like the Pasternak contract?
The Leafs should trade for Tom Wilson to respond.
Well, question is, do the Leafs like it? Because Nylander's up for renegotiation in July, and let's face it, that's all the Leaf fans care about is, what does this mean to re-sign Michael Nylander?
Willie.
Or Willie, sorry. Michael Dad.
Willie's what percentage of Pasternak as a player? 80%? 75? 80?
Playoff success? 20? 15?
Right. 50, what's 15% of 11.25? Pay him that. Yeah, Willie makes 6.9, blah, blah, blah.
I had him at 10.5.
Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
on a new deal.
I like that 10 number a lot more than the 10.5. Getting out of hand for me at that point for Willie. By the way, how strong was he last night? You and I were talking about him against Ekholm, just big boy. Not that he was good last night.
No,
Willie,
but Ekholm came bearing down on him. He was coming around the net, and I was like, oh, boy, get your head up. And he just bounced off of him. Ekholm went down to a knee. I was like, oh, my God, Willie.
I actually think if there was a stat that, like, times a jersey touched the ice, Willie might be, I don't think he's ever been on the ice. Like, he's got great edges, doesn't fall down much. Doesn't go into it. Yeah, anyway.
The other thing, too, is, let's just assume Kyle's doing the negotiations this summer. How hard is he going to press Willie? Will he press Willie as hard as the Boston Bruins pressed Pasternak to remain a Bruin, take probably $800,000 less than the 12 you could have gotten on the open market, convince him that you want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf the rest of your career. Here's 8 years. You're our guy. It wasn't an easy negotiation. Like with Pasternak, they had to really work him over.
Yeah.
About being a Bruin and taking a little less. Yeah. This was a little less.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Than what if the market would have bared
11.5 to 12, I wouldn't have been in here saying, I'd say, yeah, that's about right. So, yeah. And it is less than Panarin, right? He's not the highest paid winger.
Panarin.
Which is
11.6, I think.
He had an easy case to make that he's Panarin plus.
Without a doubt.
Easy case. So it's a nice contract. It's also not cheap.
But will Willie?
I mean, the Bruins
leave a little less to remain a Toronto Maple Leaf.
I don't know.
One of the big conversations in the hockey dressing room was when I was like, the Bruins always. Oh my God, I'm getting choked up talking with the Bruins. But all their guys take less. They take less. Now it's 2 guys in a row that haven't taken less.
Yeah.
McAvoy's paid appropriately, 9.5. That was the going rate at the time, and this is not a discount.
Well, that's a lot of those.
No, it's a discount.
No, it's not.
It's a discount.
It's $11.5 million per
Larkin
year.
was a discount. This is a discount.
This is not a discount. Come on.
JB just said he's got every facet of an argument to pass Panarin, and the cap is going up.
Disagree.
Sammy,
I disagree.
It's a discount.
I disagree. I disagree. It's $11.5 million.
It's a lot, but it's less than
complaining what Rogers pays you.
Wow.
To this.
That's a different conversation. But no, anyways. Oh, the Bruin lore. Oh, he takes $11.5 million. What a hero.
this guy.
The perfect Bruins get their guys to take less. Oh, yeah. He took less. Took $90 million.
Dylan Larkin was 9 all day long.
Give me a break.
And Stevie Yzerman pulled the Steven Stamkos playbook on Larkin, and it worked beautifully. And I don't blame Larkin for signing.
No,
You're at home.
Either guy.
Come on. You're
Either
not going
guy.
anywhere.
Boston's a great organization.
Where are you going? You're going to Anaheim for an extra $500,000?
Let's say you're going to go play for Columbus. Who would do that? Who would be a superstar and choose Columbus?
You know what a discount is? Tage Thompson. That's a discount.
But see, all of this is retroactive discounts. Guys sign a contract they're
Patrice
worth. They
Bergeron
play
and
better,
$1.5 million
they go,
is
it's
a discount.
It's not a discount for a 30-goal scorer.
No, it's not.
Okay, don't use Tage Thompson as an example. Tage Thompson signed as a 30-goal scorer. No one knew he was going to turn into 50.
Yeah, still fire your agent.
Oh, yeah.
And Mario, Tage Lemieux.
Yeah.
Two things. If Tyler Bertuzzi ever becomes relevant to the Toronto Maple Leafs being on the Bruins, isn't that a great thing? Wouldn't you love for that to be a problem? Because that means they've won a round. Like, I've heard people be like, oh, no, the Bruins got Bertuzzi. I'm like, the best case scenario is that that's a problem. So
Yeah, that's a great problem to deal with.
yeah, deal with that. Cross that bridge when you come to it.
See, there you guys go again, lowering the bar.
The bar's
you guys will
Kipper.
be-
the perfect.
They can roll over the bar. It's on the ground.
You'll be so happy with a second round Boston sweep.
No, I wouldn't be. Come on.
That's pretty low. If
Five?
Okay, now we're talking.
One extra game.
I would be ecstatic that they beat the Bolts, and then just as pissed off as I would be if they got swept by the Bruins. There'd be no difference to me.
Really? That's
See,
wild.
there's no difference.
Well, good.
You're
They've just
you're
loaded-
unstable.
They just loaded up.
Oilers got Bustad. Anyone care?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
He's going to take a discount. He's going to take a big discount.
I don't think it's a
like
bad
the
move.
hero Pasternak did.
What do you say?
He's still all over you.
The hero from the hills comes down and takes nothing. You might as well be Peter Pan. Pasternak discount. Give me a break.
Sammy's way, they'd all be making $100,000. Okay.
This is delightful. Just delightful. Another match tonight. We get to put the Oilers game behind us. 9 p.m. start.
Give me a rebound score tonight for the
I
Toronto
was
Maple Leafs.
terrible last night. Give me 3-2 win.
3-2 win.
Sure. You got one?
Wall.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, I think he's going to be.
And that's going to really confuse the hell out of Leaf
gonna
Nation.
mess 'em up.
When he plays well, everybody's going to say that's
your backup.
That's the starter for game one. Sammy, what do you got?
Better win.
Enjoy the game tonight. We're back tomorrow.